I would now request Soudabeh Rad is a non-binary eco-queer feminist Iranian gender equality activist. They have merged the online and offline activities individually, but also in Spectrum, the eco-queer feminist NGO they have founded 10 years ago. Welcome, my dear friend. Thank you so much. Soudabeh, we would like to know more about your work, and when we say inclusive SRHR, what are your I'm sure a lot of strong community voices on here, but then what's your take on this?
Hello, everyone, again. I want to be short and disruptive. So inclusive SRHR work is everything that we saw this morning, not do that. So since this morning we didn't see any disabled body on the screen, we didn't hear about the LGBT community that much. We were divided into men and women, girls and boys. The numbers that were shown to us were exactly what you shouldn't do when you're working on SRHR. In the case of Iran, so myself and my friend and work partner Zainab, we decided to create Spectrum because we saw this big lack of working on inclusive SRHR issues. Before that, we were activists, individual activists, and we were always considered as these disruptive individuals. And then we started this organization to be a disruptive organization. And since 10 years now, we have already had 7 projects, and we divided into different projects because we want to be inclusive. We say the same thing, of course, because we want to be authentic, but we use different languages for different audiences. We use a more soft language when we're talking about women, sexual women who are in a marriage under the Islamic Republic of Iran law. Then we talk more openly and with proper words that we want to teach to children through storytelling and so on. So inclusive and being inclusive and respecting the diversity is not about inviting somebody on the panel, but really sit with yourself and see who is really left behind. Who am I not seeing here? We were just talking with about the beautiful educative leaflets that were presented to us all this morning. And this is exactly what you shouldn't do. You cannot put a white blonde woman picture in a Sri Lankan sex education leaflet. This is what makes people totally not resonate with sex education and say, well, this is not our culture, this is their culture, and this is what you're facing. And maybe tomorrow we will talk about the opposition, how we're facing the opposition and the whole thing. As soon as I hear we have to be sensitive to culture, I'm like, culture has always evolved because culture is made of human beings, and I am one of those human beings. And we are living in a global society. Anything that happens here has an effect on me living in France, has an effect on me living somewhere in Iran. So I think it's a very, very fine line between knowing the culture and starting to talk that language and fall into cultural relativism and just being stuck where we shouldn't be stuck.
Okay, I think it's the same story in India also. But yes, the decrim has happened, so it's still there's some space, I would say. But having said so, talking about laws and talking about restrictive settings, coming back to Soudabeh, especially Iran, everyone knows. So and very new ways of working, especially Spectrum. In that context, what strategies can ensure the security of personal data, which is collected through digital platforms, while building trust with marginalized groups to address concerns about surveillance and privacy? How do you navigate?
It's very difficult, but possible. So first of all, I just wanted to mention that LGBTI, there is also a B, and we should not forget that bi plus people, women and men are also facing a lot of discrimination. It's not only lesbian and gay and trans people, it's a bigger community, just to say that. Well, the case of Iran, I don't know if everyone knows Iran because it's so normal that we hear something new every day from that government. I think they have some fantastic dreams and they come up every day like, from today on, we're gonna just stop vasectomy. And maybe we should also not give access to condoms or something like that, or anything else really ridiculous. Child marriage in Iran is very legal, very, very legal, and abortion is very, very illegal. Having access to contraceptives is almost illegal now, let alone the abortion. So we're facing a government which has a lot of power, and we cannot undermine the power that they have and the money that they are putting into systematically create and reinforce the violence, gender and sexual-based violence. I think you all might have seen what happened a couple of days ago. Ahu Daryai, student, just took off her clothes, said, okay, you don't want me to do this, I'm going to do this. And they just put her in a psychiatric hospital. And this is what they do. They're anybody who is not cis hetero person and totally listening to the government guidelines is sick, including trans people, including intersex people, including a person like me, because I'm totally crazy and I'm so immoral and I'm just sitting in my nice place in France and just activating people inside the country. So yeah, I'm actually activating people inside the country. How we do it, as diaspora-based organization, like any other organization, and that is very historical because as of even before the revolution happened, there were a lot of immigrants because the regime before the mullahs was not very, I mean, it was not democratic at all, let alone very. So the idea of diaspora activism is not new to the Iranians, as it's not new to many people in our country. But with the arrival of internet, and I was 13 years old when it arrived, so it was a new oxygen buffet, as we call it in French. And we started to use internet to really become the activists of people. And we always remember that behind any ID, let it be on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, there's actually a person, I mean, we hope, there's actually a person sitting there that we can have actually impact on them. So when it comes to privacy and collecting data, we don't collect data. We respect highly the privacy of both our team members, but also those people who are using our services. And for the sake of time, and I don't want to be boring like other people, not here. Not here, sorry. Sorry, I'm very traumatized this morning. So I'm just gonna showcase two of the works that we're doing. So we started with Macholand, and we started with occupying Macholand. And those days we were not as feminist as we are today. So everybody wanted to occupy Wall Street, and we wanted to occupy Macholand, as in the land of machos. And now we just want to change it. We don't want to occupy anything anymore. We just want to eradicate it from the world. That's it. And then little by little, we created the only BI+ resource in Persian, and little by little we listened to the questions that were coming. There were a lot of literally like sexual questions, because the word bisexual comes with sex in it. So people were like, oh, these people are intersex people who are there for both sex, so we're gonna have a threesome or foursome with them. So there was a lot of sex questions. So we created a platform for sex education, but for everyone. And then little by little, of course, we're eco-feminists, and then we evolved. And then I ended up one day with thinking, okay, I want to address the person who hates me the most inside Iran. So I put an image of, I just started to draw, and I'm not a good drawer, maybe a good potter, but not a drawer. A 10-year-old Baluchi girl who is about to get married and doesn't know a thing about periods, doesn't know a thing about the legal frame of Iranian government, like binary, totally based on violence against women. And I thought, I want to talk to that person who doesn't have internet, who doesn't know me, who always, I had a sight card, who already could hate me because of my shaved hair or anything. And I created Hamdam, and Hamdam is the only application period tracker with Jalali calendar. You might know that Iranians use a different calendar than a lot of other countries. And that makes it much easier for people to use it. But it was a period tracker, and that was really the hard part, because I didn't want to have a standard body saying like, okay, every 28 days you're going to get your periods, or, oh, 2 days to your periods, maybe you want to buy your chocolate, and so on. And this is how I started to understand how much gender-based violence it is actually in the application creation, and how our bodies, female assigned bodies, are actually a source of income for anybody, for Clue, for any other period tracker, because they get our data and they sell it as scientific data. You just say, yes, I want to use my data, and then they show you a a female assigned body of a white person who's living in northern hemisphere of the world, who has access to a smartphone, and they tell you, well, it's normal among women that they want to eat avocado on their 13th day in the afternoon after the first drop of whatever period, and this is happening. This is a whole marketing thing. And in that application, I also we as a team, we also integrated the whole legal frame of the Iranian family law and how we could circumvent it, like how to get more legally, get more rights, not still equal, and how to check your breast for breast cancer and so on, violence in case of rape, what to do, what not to do, and also a button to call the social emergency. But to your question, of course, you can see I think before I talk, but I don't have a lot of barriers when I speak to use the words. So in that hamdam, we were already very much, of course, this is part of our identity. We don't want to emphasize on binary of gender. We didn't talk about equality between men and women or men and women equity, but we said gender equality. And people can count the genders. How many genders there is? 2 for you, that's fine for me. 3 for me, that's fine for you. So it's really that gentle speaking. I can still defend every content that it is in Hamdam, even if it's like 5-6 years old. We definitely have to update, but we're always trying to find the right words and right language. I go back to the cultural conversation. You know, Iran has been under pressure and political, social, cultural, a lot of things, and oppression since a long time. So for many words that we use, I am using so naturally in English, we don't have a proper Persian word or Farsi word, let alone Dari or even Pashto. So even still in Pashto, we call, I'm sorry for this language that I'm going to use. It might be triggering, but official documents call the LGBTQ people faggot. Official documents. And that is the only word that people actually understand what we're talking about. So one part of our work is to use the English, better known words, and next to it, the Farsi word. And many words we have created ourselves. And now people are using it or we are improving. So it's a work of everyday work of understanding the socius-based knowledge, as every one of us does, and then trying to understand how am I going to transfer this to a community where they do not have access to this information. So to disrupt, with all due respect to you and the Western countries, no, Iran has created anti-gender thing like many years ago. Please, that is our, we have created that. Please, not everything good comes from us. No, but I just want to mention that it's, yes, in the Western countries, and I think we will discuss this in the opposition panel, they're very well organized, but they're very much friends with country delegates like the Islamic Republic of Iran. So it's not coming only from the West, they're learning from each other. And since at least 45 years now in Iran, we have the anti-gender movement in place. Not identifying as anti-gender, but they are anti-gender people. So I think it's much closer to us than the West. Please give the credit to Iranian government. Thank you.